This isn't just a weapon. It's a piece of history, forged right in the trenches of World War I. The U.S. 1918 Mark I trench knife. It's one of the most iconic artifacts from that whole era. But of course, with that fame comes a flood of forgeries. So today, we're going to figure out how to tell a genuine piece of history from just a modern fake.
And that, right there, really gets to the heart of it, doesn't it? A real Mark I knife has a story literally etched into its steel and brass. It's not just about looking old, it's about proving it is old. And that's exactly what we're going to break down.
Well, you've got to become a bit of a detective. You learn to read the little clues that the counterfeiters almost always miss. And trust me, by the end of this, you are going to have the exact forensic checklist to do just that.
Okay, first things first. Let's really get our heads around why getting this right is so critical. This isn't just about bragging rights for your collection. The stakes are incredibly high here. We're talking history, we're talking serious money, and we're even talking about the law.
So, let's talk money. An authentic Mark I can easily sell for over $2,000, and honestly, sometimes a whole lot more. A fake? You'd be lucky to get $100 for it. That is a massive financial gap, and it all comes down to a few tiny details.
Now think about the age of these things. Being over a century old means they officially qualify as antiques. And that isn't just some cool factoid to throw around. It has some major legal implications. And this is exactly why that antique status is so crucial. You've got about a dozen states with really strict laws against brass knuckle weapons. Proving your knife is a genuine antique is often the only thing that makes owning it legal in those places. So authenticity, it's basically your legal passport.
So, where do we kick off our investigation? We start with the original makers. Only 3 companies were officially contracted to make these knives, and each one left its own unique set of fingerprints all over their work. Let's dive in.
All right, let's really break this down because the details here, they're everything. First up, you've got LFNC. They were the most common maker. Their big tell is that they cast their mark right into the handle's knuckle bow. That's why the letters look kind of soft and rounded. Next, there's the French-made O-Lion. Their mark is completely different. It's a stamped lion on the ricasso. That's the flat part of the blade just above the handle. And finally, you have ACO, the rarest of the bunch. Their giveaway is super subtle. Tiny little chill lines in the brass from their casting process, and a pommel nut, that's the cap on the very end, with a very specific 12 threads per inch measurement. Forgers almost never get that right.
Okay, so before we can go hunting for fakes, we have to know the real deal inside and out. An authentic Mark I is basically 3 weapons rolled into one, and each part has features that are just incredibly hard to replicate correctly.
This weapon was built for one single brutal environment, the trench. You've got the triangular blade designed for one thing, piercing. You have the cast brass grip, which is both a really secure handle and a set of brass knuckles. And then there's the rawhide scabbard. Fakes often really struggle to get the construction of all 3 parts just right.
The blade's geometry is such a critical detail. This is not a simple, flat ground dagger. No, this is a true triangular stiletto. It has 3 distinct faces that meet at sharp 120-degree angles, and that design makes it incredibly rigid and strong for thrusting. A lot of fakes are just lazily ground and completely miss this fundamental feature.
All right, you've got the background. Now let's get practical. This is your step-by-step forensic guide to putting any potential 1918 trench knife you find to the test.
We're going to break this down into 3 simple but really powerful steps. First, we're going to look super closely at the markings. Then, we'll actually test the materials themselves. And finally, we'll learn how to read the signs of genuine age and use.
Okay, let's zero in on the markings. On a real LFNC knife, the letters were part of the brass mold itself, so they have these soft, slightly rounded edges. Reproductions, on the other hand, are usually laser-etched after the fact, and that leaves razor-sharp corners. Here's a fantastic pro tip. Take a cotton swab and run it over the lettering. If it snaps on sharp edges, you are almost certainly holding a fake.
This is a classic old-school test. You don't need some fancy lab. Just touch the blade tip to a grinding wheel for a split second. The original medium carbon steel throws these long, bright orange sparks that fork at the ends, kind of like a little firework. But modern stainless steel, which is used in tons of fakes, it throws short, whitish sparks that just fizzle out. The difference is dramatic.
Look, age is never perfect. A real knife is going to have an uneven patina. It'll be darker in the crevices, worn smoother on the high spots where it was handled. Fakes are often chemically aged, which gives them this uniform kind of tea-stained brown color all over. And check out the pommel nut. Originals have 4 small punch marks, where inspectors hammered it tight. A pristine, unmarked nut just screams modern manufacturing.
So here it is, your quick cheat sheet of dead giveaways. Mismatched threads on that pommel nut, a shiny varnish, a blade tip that's way too sharp. Originals were actually shipped slightly blunted for safety. And if you see perfectly symmetrical details or, heaven forbid, a Made in India stamp somewhere, it's game over. That's a replica, full stop.
All right, let's bring this all home. Understanding these details, it's not just some academic exercise. It is all about protecting the history, the value, and yeah, the legality of these incredible artifacts.
I mean, just look at this chart. It really puts the financial stakes right in front of you. A reproduction might get you $150. A standard authentic LF&C model, that jumps all the way to $1,200. And a rare ACCO variant, you're easily looking at over $2,000. Those tiny little details we just covered are literally the difference between these bars.
And we come right back to this crucial point. Being able to prove your knife was made in 1918 isn't just for some insurance form. It's what separates a valuable historical artifact from what could be considered an illegal weapon in the eyes of the law. Your knowledge is your protection.
Ultimately, when you verify a Mark I is authentic, you're not just holding a collectible. You're preserving a tangible link to the past, a silent testament to the brutal innovation and the desperate survival of soldiers in the trenches. So what's the bottom line? Just remember those 3 forensic checks. Analyze the markings for casting versus etching, test the materials with a simple spark test, and read the story told by real, honest wear and tool marks. Those 3 steps are what separate the real stories from the forgeries, and now you've got the tools to find them.